Is the intro back?
No, there's no intro. This is the intro. Hi, my name's Shawn Chili. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek. Chris, that was a great segue. Let's welcome to Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Today, Chris, mostly Chris, because I didn't know it existed until today. I'm going to talk about the Iroh and June. I believe it's a standalone comic. I think I saw on a quick Google search as a standalone comic about Iroh and June called The Bounty Hunter and the Tea Brewer. And I did see, I think it was available on Hoopla, but I.
Oh, it's already available on
Is
Hoopla,
it? Did I see it, or is there like a coming soon? Is that a
huh?
possibility on Hoopla?
I don't know. My tablet's not down here. I don't know.
But even if it was, it's a comic, not an audiobook. So I got to be honest, it's going to be pretty far back on my list. Chris, I already read one book this year, okay? I cannot be held to these high standards of reading multiple sets of words in
I need to
pages.
start trying. I need to contact Dark Horse, ask to get free copies. That's what I need to do.
Oh, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. Dude, if it'll help our
Granted,
case,
Dark Horse is like probably the second or
the
third
dark horse of
biggest.
comic book publishers.
Yeah, maybe that's why they call them Dark.
It's
But
not just a clever name.
there's there's Marvel and DC, of course,
Sure.
and then like the
I
indie ones.
IBW is up there. Is that one?
Yeah, DW, Image, Dark Horse. Those are some of the biggest independent. I say independent, just really independent just means they're not the big two. Uh,
Yeah. Independent as in they are owned by not Disney and not Warner.
yeah,
That's how
yeah.
independent they are.
They're probably really not all that independent.
If it will help our case for getting the occasional free comic book, I can attempt to read the occasional comic book. I can do that for us.
I'm curious if I could get that because I just feel like Abrams books, the great people over at Abrams books, um, they might be more generous. Because in my head, they're a smaller publisher. They're like, yeah, here you go. And like Dark Horse to me, was like I said, they're independent, but they're still a pretty big freaking publisher.
I bet
Uh,
a margin on a novel on a, let's call it a, I don't know, what does the book cost, MSRP, $25. Is that an accurate statement?
like the Roku novel,
Yeah.
that's like 20,
Okay. I bet that margin by percentage
21,
is
21.99.
slightly higher than the margin on a comic book. So on one hand, it feels like we're being given something bigger, but in reality, we're being given something at like far less frequency that, relatively speaking, costs less to make. Like we're being
Yeah,
given a higher margin item that they're missing out on margin, but not a ton of cost. Am I making any sense?
sure.
I feel like there's better terms.
I,
Anyway,
I understood what you're saying. Then
yeah,
again, I worked in retail. So.
it's somebody tell me the right words to use. But no, that makes sense. Chris, it's been several weeks since we've talked in person because we recorded all the Roku stuff back to back to back. How have you been? What have you been up to? How's life?
I've been fine. I need to get back into some type of hobby. Like lately, when I have my own alone time at night, I've just been like watching something and then I go to sleep and then I go upstairs. Used to, I'd be like, all right, it's 9, 10 o'clock. Let me get on some action figures. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, you know what? I could be, I don't know, plotting something out with the Kitsune comic, or I gotta be like practicing drawing or something. And so, like, my hobbies aren't concentrated. I need to concentrate my hobbies, and then work has been work. But
Hmm? Fantastic. I
yeah.
have a new hobby called taking a teenager to and from soccer practice. Very exciting. And also we have to, so it is a lot of fun, and obviously I like sports, so I'm all about like keeping him engaged. But it's
Yeah.
more
For those who
like,
don't know, Sh- Shawn has a foreign exchange student staying at his house.
I can't remember if I said that or not. We're pregnant and we
I
have
don't
a
remember.
teenager that doesn't. But we have two first children. They, I don't think. Apparently, I did not. He's from Italy. He plays soccer, but not in like a stereotype, like he's gonna come and save our team way. Like he just played it casually and he kind of likes it.
Imagine.
Right. It's not the. It's not that Will Ferrell movie with Dick Butkus in it. Mike Ditka. It's not that movie. It's like he just likes playing soccer. But anyway, he's super cool. But we have to cook more now too because Heather and I don't really cook much. Like we eat sandwiches or like junk food or whatever. And now we feel like we have to like sustain a human and not kill him with our terrible cooking. So I find that most of my evenings now is like around soccer practice and figuring out what to eat. And so that's been kind of interesting, and it keeps you on your toes for sure. But all that being said, some of that sounded negative, and I didn't mean. He's the most low maintenance roommate I've ever had outside of Heather, who's pretty low maintenance. So that's fantastic. He's great. Seems like he's having a good time. And well, and yeah, he wasn't scared when we told him we were having a baby. Like he wasn't like, oh, I'm out. So that was good too. we were
Good.
scared. We were scared to bring that up to him. We're like, maybe that's not his jam. So yeah, lots of high school athletics things, and it's a little loosey goosier than I would have guessed. Like, they like that yesterday. They changed the time of practice like twice. First, it's supposed like the regular time is right after school, and then they're like, no, we're gonna do it uh, a little later after school, after volleyball practice gets done in the gym, and we'll do an indoor practice because it's really hot and really rainy. And then they changed it like, no, we're going to wait till after the rain. We're going to do it at the fields. But then it rained a ton. So it's like, we're going to do it back in the gym. This all in the span of like 2 hours. I'm like, oh, geez, what am I supposed what if you live farther? I live like 3 blocks away, so it's not a big deal for me. But what if you didn't live 3 blocks away? That'd be very
Yeah.
inconvenient. Anyway, being an adult is wild, and taking some getting used to. But all's good. All's good. Also today,
John,
tomorrow,
is one of the downsides. Well, there is no downsides. Are you using your hot tub less?
we took it down when it got like disgustingly hot, and I'm gonna call it mid July, but you know it's Kansas, it could have been any portion of July, and there was like a solid 8 straight days there. Like we didn't even have the heat turned on, right? It was just a pool. There's like a
Hmm.
solid 8 straight days there where I like forgot it existed because it was so hot I didn't go outside. And then the next time I was like, I should go check on that, and I opened it and it was disgusting.
Oh
And
God.
Heather's like, let's go ahead and put it up until it like cools off a little bit. Also, if Chris might know this about me, maybe other people don't. I don't really like being cool. Like being in a cool pool outside in the heat does not appeal to me. Being in a hot pool outside in the cool does appeal to me, and I don't know why that's different. That's just what my brain likes and
No,
enjoys.
I don't like being in a pool on a hot day.
Yeah,
I like being in a room temperature pool on a 85-degree day.
agreed completely. 1,000%, yes. And then the only time that it felt attractive is like I just got done mowing, right? And I was like, oh well, I'll just go jump in the pool. First of all, it was still like a 90-degree pool because it's hot outside. Second of all, as soon as I jumped in, like I could see all of the dirt and grime and stuff just coming off of me in this small pool. I was like, all right, well that's pretty gross. I'm not gonna do that anymore. So the hot tub got put away, which is the beautiful part of an inflatable hot tub. Is I'm gonna put it away for 2 months and then I'm gonna take it back out. It's gonna be great. And
Can
Heather won't be able to get in it, but that's okay. She'll
so,
survive. She'll put her legs in it or something.
yeah.
How about you? Did you like? Is your up and running, functioning? Just a
It's yeah, it's still I still got it hot. I use it probably once every 2 weeks. Lately, it's been too hot for me to even want to use it. I thought about using it the other night because we went to the Great Wolf Lodge
mm,
and gotten their hot tub areas, and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of miss getting into the hot tub. But then it was just too hot. Like I can't, like winter, fall will be great. Fall's gonna be great.
In the fall, in the spring, we used it probably. I'm gonna hazard a guess at 4 times a week in the
Mhm.
fall and in the spring. So we are big fans. It just didn't do what we thought it would do in the summer, which was be kind of refreshing, and it just didn't that.
Yeah,
But that's all right. Still well worth the very little money we paid for a blow up piece of furniture and with a small motor on it. But anyway, um, Chris, it's tomorrow's a big day too. We're recording on a Wednesday right now. It's a big day in the Shaler house tomorrow because it's KU football's first game is tomorrow, which is Thursday. And then also, just as an FYI, Kansas City's game is next Thursday, their first game. So getting into my favorite time of year when the temperatures start to cool off a little bit and it's football time. And then there's a beautiful crossover point where the weather's decent and football's in full swing and basketball starts. And it's not quite holiday insane season yet, like that early November time frame. That's peak. That's peak season for me. That's my favorite little slice of year. So we're coming up. Chris, do you want to take us through the review of the Iroh and June comic called
all
The
right.
Bounty Hunter and the Tea Brewer?
Uh, we didn't even talk about. Do you want to go through and do a recap of it as well and spoil the crap out of it? I'm fine either way, or just give a review. Nah, no. I gotta get into the details.
I think you have to. So maybe let's issue the spoiler alert for folks who haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I can do I'll do a quick high level. My
Okay.
thoughts
And
and
we'll
stuff
throw a
going into it.
chapter. Yeah, we'll throw a chapter in after the high level summary review.
So I'm pretty sure I'm on record saying that these little individual comic books, I'm tired of them. I need something more. Like I didn't like. I mean, they're all kind of fine, but they're all kind of forgettable, um, to a certain extent. The Suki one, I read that once, and it hurt my brain about, I think, about the Avatar and stuff, because Kyoshi shows up, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense lore wise. What's going on here? The Qatar one, I honestly don't even remember reading it. I might have, but I know I've read at least some of it, and it wasn't that great. The Toph one was just kind of bland. Like it could have been just a little vignette in a Tales of Bossing Say. It was that unimpactful. I did really like the Azula one. So that one was really good. Azula and the Spirit Temple. I
That
did really like
one,
that one.
I actually did read that one. That was the last one we talked about.
Yeah. Yep. And this one here. So actually really like this one. Not expect to really like it because, like I said, my track record with these aren't that great. That being said, though, I am still tired of this format. I'm tired of this being the only format for Avatar comics that we've gotten in like the past 2 years, probably. Like, go back to like actual stories with the three arcs, and I'm even kind of tired of that structure of it being like here's a here's volume one, here's volume two, here's volume three, and then you put them all together and makes a whole story. I'd rather just have either a monthly comic or one giant graphic novel. I think those are better ways to digest the comic book format. But nonetheless, I like this comic book. I like it a lot more than I thought I would because when I hear Iroh and June has a comic book together, I'm like, I don't know where the story is going. It just seems like a little cute kind of story. But I like a lot of things in it. Um, you dive a little more into Iroh, a little bit more of his past. You also dive into June's past. And also there's the whole thing, kind of the moral of the story is like you are not your past. And that was interesting. I think that was a interesting story concept to explore, especially with Iroh, because I'm on record saying that Iroh has a terrible past. But I'll get into that more into the spoiler side of it. But I would recommend this comic book. I think it's pretty good. There's lots of things that I really like about it. I don't have that many things that I didn't like about it. So I think any Avatar fan would enjoy this comic.
I'll put the chapter note after this so people can skip this weird tangent. But you know, we talk about Iroh's bad past as like part of what makes him the great character, like part of what makes us love him as a character, right? And just like the kind of misconception of us saying he has a bad past being equated to like not liking him, or it's like no, it's the opposite. The other day I read that it's like the creator of the video game franchise Doom is a devout, I believe he was a devout Mormon, and he remains a devout Mormon to this day. And it was just like little snippets of an interview in text or whatever that he was surprised when people came out against the game calling it satanic or whatever. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure that game is anti-demon. It's like, you know what? Never thought of it that way before. He's right. And
I never played any of the Doom games, but I got the gist of them.
yeah, very that's the gist right there. It's an anti-demon campaign. That's the whole video game series. I was just it made me chuckle a little bit in the same sort of weird perspective way. But
Yeah.
Chris, I'll put a chapter marker down at 1640. I like an even number. All right, spoilers starting
Okay.
now.
Spoilers. Okay, so recap and spoilers. The story starts off with Iroh at his tea shop, serving up tea. Some people are like, "Oh yeah, this is really great tea. But can you tell us, like, we're here for this tea, but also we're here because you're like one of the Avatar's companions and stuff. Like, tell us, how was fighting with the Avatar? We love the Avatar." He's like, "Oh, I appreciate your interest, but that lifetime was a lifetime ago. Like, I'm just a simple tea shop owner now." Then there's someone picketing and boycotting Iroh outside his tea shop, saying like the Dragon of the West has no place in our city. He also says, I'll never sit peacefully with the likes of you. You tried to destroy my city, and now you're acting like it's your home." I have been wondering this for a long time. Of like, the citizens of Ba Sing Se probably wouldn't treat Iroh as well and a uh, let him keep a tea shop, knowing full and well his history, because honestly, just 4 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, he laid siege to the city. And in one of my complaints about this book, even though I just said before it's not a real complaint, because I don't think they could really fix this complaint, is that, and that's almost so anyway. One of my complaints of the book is that they bring up these heavy things of Iroh's past and stuff, but to me, they don't go far enough to show the reality of the situation. Like they say things like, "Oh, you were destroying the city. You lay siege to it." They don't often mention like, "Oh, people died."
Yeah. No,
Like,
the one of the best moments in the live action TV show is when that guy confronted Iroh about like his
yeah,
brother died. This feels like it would have been a pretty good opportunity for a group of people to be like, you can't drink that guy's tea. He's a jackass. Like
yeah,
I don't
and
care if he
that's
fought with the Avatar. They can't bring my brother back, which is exactly a thing that people would say.
yeah, like there's no yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that was my exact thought as well. Of like the live action show went to certain places, which is that the animated show in its
Could not.
uh in its universe and comic books could and haven't really tried to do because this is a what is this rated Y7 or something. Although I even think you can still do it.
I
Did
mean,
they even try to do?
it would be tricky at Y7. I feel like, but I don't know my rating standards.
Yeah, I mean they showed a freaking murder suicide in the Y7. I always go back to that Korra scene because like, how the heck did they get away with that? Like, anyway,
Do you remember
um,
that movie, George of the Jungle, featuring Brendan Fraser?
yes,
Have we
yeah,
talked about this before where it's like, but nobody dies in this movie? They just get really bad boo boos. And then he's just back in the next scene, like covered in bandages.
no, I forgot that.
So dumb. I love it.
Uh, but yeah, they could have had. I don't know more. I enjoy seeing other people's perspective and Boy Kind of Iroh as it would. Um, but I kind of would have liked more on the reality of the situation that Iroh led a freaking 300 no 600-day siege, and like this isn't the actual armies fighting. It's not like, oh, I knocked you out. You could no people are dying. His son died. But that is a problem that I'm not sure could have been fixed within, or could have even been addressed within this comic format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe not. But it's
Yeah,
still a
even
fair,
Iroh. I
still
mean,
a valid qualm.
yeah. And Iroh says, like, I regret the things I did when I was a younger man. I'm grateful Basti Say has been welcoming to me despite my past. He tries to like meet with the guy and like, hey, just come in and have tea with me. We can talk about this. I'm like, well, what? I'm kind of curious, like, what would I would, man, if this comic book ended like that, I think that could have the guy at first. So Iroh says, friend, we don't says, friend, why don't you come inside and we'll talk over a cup of hot tea. The story never, and they never go back to that guy. The story goes in a different direction, but I would have been curious for them to have that conversation at the end of the book and talk about what Iroh did, how it impacted people. Because the thing is, when you hurt someone in a certain manner like that, like even though there might be forgiveness or whatever there is, you still owe it to them, I think, to continue to have that conversation to help them with help them get over your your actions against them. Like to me, you always even there are when things are so egregious like that. No matter if you how much you beg for forgiveness stuff, and no matter how much they give you forgiveness, I think you should always be open and willing to continue to have those conversations with those people. So I think Ira would
Yeah,
still, even though it was 4 years ago, you'll never repay that debt fully, and so you always have to keep those communications open.
he definitely started his shop under false pretenses. It's the only way. But then also, as far as like, there's a difference between like forgiveness and the wounds actually healing, and
Yeah,
for right or wrong, obviously there would be tremendous backlash against his existence in Bossing Say.
yeah. Oh crap. Anyway, June then pops up, which is actually pretty cool. And then she's like, "Hey, there's someone has a bounty on your head, and I'm here to collect." And then her and Iroh tussle like a little bit, um, and then she like blows like sheer shoe mist in his face, and that knocks him out. Then Iroh's like and then she's taking him back to some place in the Earth Kingdom. And they talk and stuff. And Iroh does apologize for uh, it's a little. Iroh does apologize for the scene at the end where, and also Iroh was a little. Let's say he was. I mean, he essentially apologized for his actions to June, how he treated her, because he treated her, he objectified her to a certain extent.
Hmm?
Um, and then at the end
He
there,
was
where he
being the
pretended to
creepy
be,
old man to some degree.
yes, he was being the creepy old man character that and is honestly a little bit out of character like it's one of those anyway. So he apologized for that. And this was a very sincere apology. And June says, uh I'll think about accepting your apology. Anyway, she then get jumped. Well, not jumped, but they run into. That's not really all that important, even though it's a cool scene. They run into some bounty hunters that June used to know, but they no longer are bounty hunters. They work for the Earth Kingdom by capturing former bounty hunters. So they're there to capture June. Um, and they almost get her, but Iroh helps her out, which I do like this really cool scene here where he like fire bends from top of Nala just through his fire breathing because his hands are tied behind his back. But I really like that scene. And then essentially June and him are Iroh accepts that he's gonna go. He's gonna let June take him to the person who put the bounty on him, and then they end up going to uh, on the way. They end up going to like a village where some of June's old friends who were also bounty hunters, but now they turned over a new leaf. They're like farmers and stuff like that. They own land. They're contributing to the village that they're in. Then you learn a little bit about June's past, how her mother was a thief who stole from the rich and gave to the poor and kept some for herself. And when her mother was captured, this Earth Kingdom guard let her out, and then they got married and had June. Or I wouldn't know if they got married, but they hooked up and lived a pretty. She had parents who loved her, which I was worried that the story was going to go in some other direction. But June was loved by her parents. But then the Earth Kingdom caught up with her mom and captured her mom, and she was raised alone by her dad as a bounty hunter. So you get to learn some of June's past. But June's main thing here is like, all right, do I want to keep being a bounty hunter? Like, it's not that noble of a cause. And her friends turned over a new leaf. Her friends are like doing really well and stuff in this small little village. And then June eventually takes Iroh to the guy who put hit out on him. And it turns out that this guy used to be working for the Fire Nation. He used to work under Iroh as a spy. And this guy's really pissed off at Iroh because Iroh left him for dead. Like when Iroh, um, after Lieutenant died, he then gave the orders of retreat, but he wasn't able to give the orders to this spy guy who then some of his friends and stuff were killed, which they do say that they were killed, which is yeah, because he said yeah, the guy because the guy had like 5 people on his team or something like that who were all spies working inside of the Earth Kingdom, and they were working under Iroh, but Iroh's retreat orders didn't get to them in time, and the shady business guy who put out a hit on Iroh says they're dead,
Ferrick's
and so
dad.
now this is a Fire Nation guy.
Oh,
He's he's part of the Earth Kingdom because he's been hiding out in the Earth Kingdom. Um, he owns a tea supply kind of deal, and I don't know exactly why they made it a tea supply deal, but anyway, he's like the head of a tea supply deal who has like a monopoly on tea in the Earth Kingdom. But yeah. Anyway, this guy wants Iroh to get punished and be killed, and then June gets her money from him though. He beats Iroh up a little bit. June, very Catwoman like, takes the money at first, and then she's like, what should I do? Should I go save Iroh? Because that guy definitely said he was gonna kill Iroh. And then she ends up doing one last job with her old crew, those people who turn over a new leaf and stuff, and they break Iroh out, and then there's like a big fight kind of deal, and yeah, they break Iroh out. Since the shady tea shop business owner guy is no longer, because there's probably a bounty out on him from the Earth Kingdom. Since he's no longer in charge, Iroh asked one of June's friends if she'll take over the business because she's pretty honest and she's just a farmer, but she'll take care of the community and stuff. And then June turns over a new leaf, and June becomes like Iroh's leaf getter. Like she travels the world looking for exotic tea leaves and stuff like that. And
She's
she
just
brings it
leaf
back to
running.
Iroh. Yeah, her title apparently is what do they call it? She is the Jasmine Dragon's official tea discoverer. As discoverer. That's her. So she turns over a new leaf.
It's
Tea.
kind of a baller job title though.
Yeah,
Lead tea
but
discovery artist.
I feel like the way I described it doesn't sound all that interesting. But I enjoyed a lot of different aspects of it. I enjoy looking back at Iroh's past. I enjoy a mirror being put up to Iroh and him at least having to confront that. It's interesting that they confront it from the other side of someone in the Fire Nation being like, "You left us for dead." And this guy looked up to Iroh. Like, he's like, "I thought you like I wanted to be like you." Um, which I guess is interesting of Iroh didn't even no longer even wants to be like Iroh, how Iroh was.
Never meet your heroes,
But
kid.
that's true. But
You
like I said
can't
before,
you can't disappoint a picture.
I told
I
Pierce
told
a
Pierce.
thousand times. I just wanted a signed auto picture of LeVar Burton. I didn't want to meet him.
You can't disappoint a picture.
And then
Uh,
he's like in the bathroom. Butterfly in the sky.
take a
I
look.
can go twice. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading
uh,
Rainbow.
I've made it all the way to
Set,
season.
set phasers to love me.
I've made it into the start of season 4, and season 4 is not the worst season of that show, and I will stand firm on that. But another
I think
discussion
I
for
like
another
these.
day.
I think when I did a recent rewatch, which I know my memory's bad, it was probably honestly 2 years ago. Even though in my head it was like a year ago, it was probably longer than that.
I watch it at least annually, probably closer to 8 months.
Hmm. See, I started watching Batman Begins last night, which I typically watch the Dark Knight trilogy once a year. And then I had a tweet up from the last time I watched it, and I was like, oh, okay, this was like March of 23.
So
Okay, that's
it's timing.
seems right.
I'm surprised you only watch it once a year, to be honest, the trilogy. But
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a
because I have to be like focused in like I don't like watching it in the background or anything. I like to just be focused and watching it. And typically once a year I take a week off of work. I have a little staycation, and usually one of those days I'll watch the whole Dark Knight trilogy.
I associate certain times of year with movies. So like I
Yeah,
probably watch those annually, and I bet it's almost always in October, right? Because it just feels a bit like an
yeah.
October movie. The Harry Potter series always comes between Halloween and Christmas. 8 movies, pretty long. Heather always like do it together. And then shortly after that, inevitably, I get like the itch to watch Lord of the Rings. So I'm gonna say Lord of the Rings happens in January, February, and so I get the itch to watch the same things at the same times.
Yeah.
But anyway, season 4, Gaslight season, not the worst season. Maybe, dare I say, maybe better than season 3. Maybe.
Hmm.
I have to think about it. That
I
might
think
be too far.
so much of season in my head.
We haven't even said
Season
we're talking
one,
about the TV show Community. Sorry, I don't even think we've said that out loud.
we did.
Right.
Season one of Community, like I know if I saw a clip, I know. Oh, that's season one. Season two depends on the episode.
Probably
But
though. You probably
mostly
do.
season. Yeah, I probably do. Now I think about it, there's like the KFC
Season 1 and
episode. There's
2 just they just stand on their own. That's their own like 2 seasons of perfect ensemble television.
and then three and four and even five. If you showed me certain three and four, it's hard for me to tell the difference between them. Five, I think that's in the time where like Annie moved in with Abed and Troy. Maybe that's the
That's
time.
already in 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, my yeah.
But after 2, they all get very independent of one another. Very, like I said, first 2 just feel tied, they feel good, they feel right. Everyone after that, for better or worse, feels very independent of all the others.
Is Brooklyn Nine-Nine in your rotation? What all things are in your rotation?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is, because it's longer, I'm going to say that's closer to every 2 years. Community every
Okay.
year. The
Yeah.
aforementioned movies every year. I feel like The Good Place I would probably watch every year because it's shorter, but I don't have
Oh,
Netflix.
the Good
But
Place got in there.
yeah, that's a great TV show. It's exactly the right amount of levity and comedy and message that I want. It would, but I don't have Netflix. But it would make that rotation. And then I feel like I'm missing a big one. Psych. We've talked about Psych before, right?
Mm.
That's it's a
Yeah,
little. It's like 8 seasons, so it's a little. That's probably every 2 years.
an hour-long
Parks.
episodes too.
Yeah, those are 45 minutes. And then other ones that aren't part of my rotation, but my wife and I enjoy enough simultaneously that they're part of like our dinner rotation, which is a much wider sweep because it'll be like one per evening that we happen to eat down here, which is much
Right.
less these days. That'd be Parks and Rec, Friends. I guess we watch The Office, but I don't love it. No offense, Office people. I like Parks and Rec better. And Scrubs. And so that's a much longer rotation, but still part of a rotation.
Yeah. I think I watch Friends probably once every 5-ish years.
Futurama. Sorry, I didn't say the favorite. Futurama is still my favorite TV show, other
Okay.
than maybe the first 2 seasons of Community. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just can't believe I forgot it.
No, you're fine. Let's see. Friends, I watch every 5 years. I don't really count that as rotation. That's more like it feels like it's Friends time.
Yeah,
Things I watch
agreed.
every 1 or 2 years. Um, Yu
2
Yu
years feels
Hakusho.
like the fair thing to call a rotation. That's a fair rotation.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho. Um, Community, Grubs, The Good Place. I do think Brooklyn Nine-Nine has gotten in there. Even though I've only watched it maybe 3 times, but it's solid
But since
in
it's been
there.
available, like in totality, that's pretty much every
Yeah,
2 years.
yeah, yeah. Um, oh, Avatar.
Avatar. Honestly, Avatar is probably 2 years for me.
It's been too long since I watched the whole thing through. I started over, and then so I was kind of watching it with my kids. Wait, no,
Uh,
my daughter's sleeping
that's
already.
just another Netflix. Like I have the DVDs over there, and it's just a little less convenient. But Heather usually watches those with me. But they're definitely in my rotation of 2 years minimum.
Attack on Titan. I'm not sure if Naruto will make it again because Naruto's freaking long.
That's too much. Is
Yeah,
Attack
no,
on
Naruto.
Titan? I was under the impression that Attack on Titan was quite long as well. Not Naruto long, but how many seasons are
I
we
mean,
talking for
it's like
Titan?
it's 130 episodes somewhere around there,
Okay, nice.
and it goes by freaking fast.
Hmm.
Um, uh, yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho's like 110.
I guess I didn't realize it was
But
that
you know,
long. That's wild. Uh, that's our new episode idea. Is just like we're gonna like plot our literal rotations on a 5-year calendar.
see, I don't think you can plot it. You just gotta feel it.
You
You're
do.
like, all right,
If
it's
you if you start plotting, it takes the magic away.
yeah.
Not a ton of movies I notice in either of. I mean, I guess it's kind of a different question, but I'm also thinking that's kind of
Movies.
fair. Is I don't have a huge movie rotation other than what I mentioned previously.
Movies. The Dark Knight trilogy, of course.
Sure.
I always end up watching The Last Dragon like once a year.
Hmm.
And I end up watching um, what are other movies that are in my rotation? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one.
The first two, and I'll die on that hill, Chris. You can't stop me.
You would get killed on the hill. Then,
That is the hill I choose to die on.
um,
Wayne's World 1 and 2 are very nostalgic for me.
I never watched any of the Wayne's World
I can't say
films.
that I think that they hold up or that they're good or anything, but I have a lot of fondness for them. So I would say that's an annual. That's like when Heather leaves. Every once in a while, she gets to go on like a small trip without me to Batesville, Indiana, which is literally to a place where they make caskets. It's like a big Indiana Jones
Oh,
warehouse
I was like,
full of
why does
caskets
she care to go to this place?
because of caskets. She says literally it's like the Indiana Jones warehouse. It's just a massive. It's insane. But I don't go. So it'll be something like that where I'll sit down and binge through some of the stupider movies that she does not enjoy. So, a sprinkling of Will Ferrell and Mike Myers and maybe some Jim
Oh,
Carrey,
Talladega
depending.
Nights.
Yeah, Talladega
Talladega
Nights for
Nights.
sure. That's the best Will Ferrell movie, which I think we've scientifically proven on this show.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's man. Talladega Nights. It
And
does not get.
Ace Ventura, right? Because she likes Jim Carrey, but that's not her favorite Jim Carrey. So I try to do those things while she's
Hmm.
not
I
around.
need to go watch Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. That's the first film I've ever seen in movie theaters. Surprisingly enough.
Have we talked about movies where I think I brought it up with Robin Williams once and I don't even remember what movie it was, where it's like it's not a good movie, but like Robin Williams, whatever that movie was, is so good in that movie that it makes it worth watching. That's Jim Carrey in that series of unfortunate events movie. Like
Hmm.
before there was the Netflix TV show, there was just like the single movie and it kind
Mhm.
of combined the first three books. That's Jim Carrey in that movie.
I never watched those movies before,
It's
but
it's just the one, and it's not a good movie, but he just is that good
huh?
in it. It's a perfect Jim Carrey role. What else is on the old movie shelf over there? Yeah, it's just a different rotation. Movies, that's all. A different kind of rotation. It's a little more impulsive.
Oh yeah. Well, it's easy. It's
Yeah,
just less commitment.
yeah. The hardest rotation for me are the ones that Heather also wants to watch because that means we're just doing like four. I'm gonna say 5 a week as a maximum. So that's a bigger, longer commitment. But we always got to have one queued up so we never have to think about what the next one is. So that slows the rotation down. Chris, final thoughts on Iroh and June and unrelated to
Um,
community.
like I said, I think it could have had a really freaking strong ending if the guy comes back and has tea with Iroh and they talk. They don't have to show the full conversation. Just like it'll start the conversation, and then the camera pans away, and the conversation keeps going on because conversations like this needs to keep going on because healing never stops.
Hmm? Yeah,
So it just
fantastic.
ended with June and Iroh talking. But they were talking about how like you can change your past. Your past isn't who you are.
Is it fair to say you liked this a little better than the Azula comic, which you did admittedly enjoy?
No. Did I just say that?
No, you didn't. I was just trying to
Oh,
take a guess based on your reaction.
okay. No, I like the Zula comic more.
Okay.
I would reread the Zula comic more times than this one, I think.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I think Azula comic, I think, dives more into like one thing I loved about the Azula comic that a lot of fans were like, "Oh, she might finally get her arc and stuff," and then she's like, "No, I'm effing Azula. Like, this is who I." Am. Which I'm not saying that she shouldn't have an arc. I just knew they tried to give her an arc. I knew they tried to give her an arc in this one little one shot page. It would have felt empty and poorly written because it's too short of a book to give an actual arc of 2 seasons and continuation comics later. That couldn't be wrapped up in a single one-off comic book. And so I liked her stubbornness of like, no, I'm not crazy.
Which is
You all.
not which and we talked about at the time is not unrealistic to how a person like Azula would act. Is that there might be a redemption arc trying to punch her in the face, and she might still resist it. So
Yeah.
I found that was a very gratifying discussion after that
Yeah.
comic.
Shawn, are you this is not related to this at all. But are you familiar with the story writing concept of the hero's journey?
It is an archetype. So there's like the I'm gonna man what is the hero's journey is one, the coming of age story, maybe that's the same thing. The Jesus metaphor is typically known as one, but like common writing archetypes for
Yeah.
stories. Yes.
I was trying to I was looking up that because anything because I'm not a writer, and I don't have that background. But certain tropes and archetypes and structures, um, while they're cliche and used for a reason, because for some reason those things inherently work with telling a story effectively. And so I was trying to think about how to adapt that from the high level thoughts I have about Kitsune project, Seto/Seto project and stuff. And
There
then I was saying like, then I was looking at Batman Begins, which is Christopher Nolan was he approached story in a really different. Apparently, you can look at Batman Begins and see how the hero's journey applies to it, but it's so different. I think because he does a lot of back and forth storytelling, and I'm like, would that be good or just like in my head, like I don't know if I would want to tell a chronological story or have some flashbacks because then you got to worry about pacing and things like that. Though, but the Kyoshi novel though is fairly chronological. I don't know. Anyway, just
uh
thinking about stuff.
I so those concepts are pretty broad when we're talking about archetypes, right? So it's not they can all apply to everything, but it's like, yeah, it's easy to see how you could look at Batman Begins and maybe see a different archetype than maybe what was actually intended or vice versa. But I always think about storytelling as literally like the oldest possible medium of entertainment. So it makes sense that over time there would be natural gravitation towards like, oh yeah, this works well enough to get people's attention. Unrelated, just I heard a word the other day. I was watching a YouTube video. I heard a word and I thought it was kitsune. I was like, what? Somebody's talking about our book? No, it was a review of a bad NES game, and they called it Kusoge. Kusoge, like just something that in passing sounded close enough. And we just have to be careful with our pronunciation because the word Kusoge translates literally to crap game or shitty game, and it's essentially like a genre in Japan that's I wouldn't say it's popular, but it's like intentionally poorly made. So not cheap poorly made, but like intentionally frustrating bad. And it is a like
Yeah.
a known commodity of video game in Japan. So there's my butchered Japanese word of the day. Kusoge, I think is how they pronounced it. And it means shitty game. But on purpose. It's different, not accidental shitty, on purpose shitty.
Uh, yeah, there's no way that a US game developer would purposely make a crappy game.
Yeah.
Unless it's just like really.
There's I mean, you might cheaply do it like a cash grab. The only example I can think of is that Penn and Teller have kind of a popular Sega CD game that is intentionally kind of stupid and bad, but it's still like a spoof, it's like a joke. It's a real thing, it exists, but it's from Penn and Teller, not a serious video game publishing company. So, anyway, I think that's all we got for now, Chris. Any final any should I go read The Bounty Hunter and the Tea Brewer?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And then we'll say that out loud, and Dark Horse Comics will send us free comic books in the future. It'll be awesome.
Oh, it'd be really great if they gave us like those free art books. Because art books are freaking expensive. They're like $40.
But they do look great. That's like great tabletop. What do you call
Yeah.
it? Great coffee table. Other
Coffee
than that,
table. Yeah.
I don't want other people's dirty fingerprints on my coffee table books, though. But
Yeah. Did they end up putting the coffee mugs on the
on the
book?
first of all, how dare you? But my name is Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. This has been Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Chris's review of The Bounty Hunter and the Tea Brewer. Spoilers, a little late for that, I know. Tell us how you feel with thumbs ups and subscriptions and comments, likes, positive reviews, bells, whatever interaction you care to leave us. We appreciate all of them. And thanks for listening. We will see you next time.